everyone! I am here today with a little wrap-up video of my November Eat at Home challenge. I will link the original video down below talking about this challenge and why I decided to do it, but basically I didn't go out to any restaurants or buy any takeout, any prepared foods or anything like that for a full month, and this is going to be my results video of whether I lost any weight, how much money I saved, whether I felt any differently, and whether I would do it again. First things first, I loved the challenge. I just found it liberating and very exciting and different from what I normally do. I didn't really have any difficulty adhering to it, although there are some areas that were a little bit challenging, which I will talk about. There were a few instances, and these were all work instances, where I did eat food that I didn't prepare myself. So we had 3 birthdays in the month of November, and we celebrate at work by having birthday cookies. So 3 days I had cookies that I did not bake myself and that I did not buy from a grocery store in a box. We also had a team lunch one day that I couldn't get out of, and instead of bringing my lunch, I decided just to have the catered lunch. Finally, I did go to Starbucks one time. My boss invited me out for coffee, and how can I say no to that? So of course we went. I told her about the Eat at Home challenge and I just got a peppermint tea. I found that the most difficult part of the challenge was leading up to the first weekend. I had a little bit of nervousness. I was thinking, what are we gonna do and what are we gonna eat? How are we gonna spend our time? Because usually when we go out, it's with a food destination in mind or a restaurant in mind. Once the hurdle of the first weekend was done, the rest of the month was literally a breeze. The only other challenge I had was towards the end. The last weekend was a little bit of a challenge because we were so close to the end. I wasn't as motivated to cook. I still cooked, but I just wasn't as creative or experimental with it. I just stuck to the basics and I made stuff that I knew I could make very easily. In my original video, I shared a tracking sheet that I would be filling out daily throughout the challenge. So I'm going to read off some of the areas that I tracked to share some of my stats with you guys, a very small sample size. So there isn't a whole lot in terms of inputs, but on average, I got around 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep. So on average, I woke up at 7 a.m. This varied depending on weekend and weekdays. So weekdays, I tend to wake up at around 6:30, and on the weekends, I tend to wake up at around 8 o'clock. My ease of waking up is always around 3.5, and how I felt throughout the day was between 3 and 3.5 as well. There was quite a big difference between weekdays versus weekends. I generally feel a lot better on the weekends. I'm a lot happier, a lot more motivated to do stuff. I'm just in generally a better mood on the weekends, which I think a lot of us are. In terms of my bedtime, I tend to go to bed at around 12 a.m. on average. However, weeknights again differ a lot from weekends. So weeknights, I tend to go to bed at around 11:30 or so, whereas on weekends I tend to go to bed at 1 a.m. So that's quite a big difference. I didn't nap much at all. I used to nap almost every day, but now it's quite a rare occurrence. And in terms of food calories, surprisingly, there wasn't that much difference because I'm still able to snack on stuff. I ate some chips and some chocolate, some junk food while I was doing the challenge. So prior to the challenge, I was averaging about 2,200 calories a day. And during the challenge, I was averaging about 2,000 calories a day. In terms of water intake, it did go up a bit during the challenge because I was consciously trying to drink more water. Prior to the challenge, I was drinking 8.9 cups a day, and during the challenge, I drank 9.3 cups on average. The last thing I want to talk about before I talk about finances is my weight. I did lose a pound or 2 at the beginning of the challenge, but I quickly gained that back, and my weight does tend to fluctuate a few pounds here and there. So on average, I weigh about 110 pounds, and that was throughout the course of the 2 weeks prior to the challenge and during the challenge itself. So no noticeable difference with weight loss, although I probably could have lost a few pounds if I had tried, if I had cut down on the snacking. So while I didn't really notice any difference with my mood or weight or anything like that, I did notice that I felt more motivated to cook. So for example, I made sushitos, I made bubble tea, I made saganaki, I made tzatziki. Those are things that I normally like to go out to eat, but I ended up making it at home, and I found it a lot of fun to make, actually. We had charcuterie a few nights, which is something something pretty standard for us, but we went to the St. Lawrence Market and Kensington Market and we got a few different things. So we went a little bit outside of our regular routine to try a few new cheeses and meats. We also made scallops and varied the protein in our salads. And finally, I also baked for the first time in a very, very long time. I used to bake pretty much every week, but I fell off of that and I haven't baked in ages and ages. So it was just really fun to rediscover my love of cooking. One thing that I did find was I did not refer to cookbooks. I tended to like to look for recipes online and just have it on my iPad in the kitchen. I think I'm going to declutter a lot of my cookbooks. I've already decluttered a ton, but I still have a few floating around here and there. Let's move on to the thing that I was most excited to track, and that was my finances. There was a huge difference in my finances, and I am going to share the numbers on the screen. January to October of this year, we averaged $1,000 on food, and this is just my portion of groceries and going out to eat. My half of groceries, my half of dinners with my husband, my full portion of dinners with my friends when my husband is not there. So $1,000 a month is quite a lot for one person. And in the month of November, because we ate at home the entire time, we were able to cut that down to less than half. All the money we spent in November was only on groceries and a little bit of alcohol, but it was under $500. So I myself personally saved $500 in the month of November, which I find amazing. And that's also the reason we're going to be doing it again. It's just a great way to reset, put a little perspective on your finances. We were going out probably a bit too much, going to nice dinners a bit too often prior to this challenge, and surprisingly, once this challenge was done, we didn't run out and go to a restaurant. It's already December 3rd today. We haven't gotten bubble tea. We haven't gone out to eat yet. We do have a dinner reservation tomorrow night, but we haven't run out to, stuff our faces with all of these foods that we love. Are we gonna go out today for a quick bite to eat? Probably, but I have no real urge or desire to do it. So that is going to be it for this video. Please let me know down below if this is a challenge that you would ever do, or if you joined me on this challenge, please let me know how you did. I'd be really curious to see if you got something similar out of it or if you had a completely different experience. I will be doing this challenge again in March of 2017. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until I see you next time, please take care and bye for now.